Welcome to Q&A number 1.99826, or simply round to Q&A number 2. Excuse the middle school haircut, but you go to Haircuttery, you kind of know what to expect. But today is the drum edition Q&A, so if you ask a question about drums, cymbals, or hardware, it will get answered in this Q&A. I'm going to do like a personal Q&A in the future, so if you have a question about, me, my channel, or video, then leave it down below. Also, I plan to do a this or that Q&A. So an example of a this or that question would be Remo or Evans, Zildjian or Sabian, Meinl or Peisty. And it doesn't have to be about drums. It can be, drummers. It can be about, food. It can be, seasons. It can be about anything. So leave your this or that question down below also, and I will get to that in a future Q&A as well. Alright, so I actually lied. There's going to be one personal question, and that is, when will your AC be fixed? It was actually fixed a few days before the last Q&A was posted, so living in the AC feels good, especially in the summer, so I'm glad it got fixed. So this guy wants to know the best way to clean cymbals. I posted a video a few days ago about cleaning your cymbals for $1 using ketchup, and that method works pretty well. It works best if you let it sit overnight or even for a few days, because the ketchup kind of like absorbs the tarnish, which is kind of nasty if you think about it, and the ketchup turns like green. I've also heard that lemons work pretty well, but back when I cleaned my cymbals, I would use a product called Barkeeper's Friend. It's like $1 or $2 at like a home center, so like Lowe's or Home Depot, and basically just dust it on the cymbal, and then you get it a little damp, let it sit for a few hours, and then wipe it off, and it's a clean cymbal. So I've had pretty good luck with that, so I suggest you check out Barkeeper's Friend. So these three people are basically asking how to keep a cymbal stand in place. So there's a few things you could do. One of them is to put a weight inside the tube like this, kind of like you do on this mic stand. Or this is probably a little bit easier, just put a weight on the leg, and that'll kind of hold it into place. I used to do that with my mic stands for the overheads, but now I just use that weight because it's a lot easier. You can also use like sandbags. A lot of like production companies, use sandbags to hold down their light fixtures and like mic stands like that. Or another thing you could do is you could just fill the center tube with concrete, as long as it's not a boom stand, because the boom has to go down the pipe. But you could fill it with concrete, and that'll add some weight to it. What do you think about drum companies and how the rack tom mounting systems work? What would be your favorite? I know some say that they let toms resonate freely, but a lot of the times they get a little complicated. Thanks. Thank you for the question. So there's a lot of different rack tom mounting systems, but my favorite would be one that mounts to the rim, not one that drills into the shell to mount the tom mount to it. So personally, I like the Tama Starcast mounting system. Like I said, it's a rim mounting system, and it's really clean. It doesn't take up a lot of space, and it doesn't look too dumb. One thing I hate about hardware is if it looks really dumb and goofy, I just automatically don't like it. So I like this system because it's not that bulky. How can you keep a cheap drum from untuning? Any tips on fixing this without spending draft money on useless plastic clips that clip onto the tension rods and ping off randomly? Now this is going to happen no matter what kind of drums you have. They will detune over time no matter what. But Steven Taylor, he put out a video about using Loctite, which I wouldn't use, but you can either use low strength Loctite, or you could also use clear fingernail polish, because it basically acts as a light duty Loctite. But other than that, I really have no tips, so sorry. So this is a rather long post, but basically he's asking about shell sizes and, the cost of them for like beginner drum sets. And I've always wondered about this too, because you would think it would be cheaper for these companies to produce smaller shells. So instead of doing 12, 13, 16, if they did 10, 12, 14 and did fusion sizes, you think it would be cheaper. The only thing I can think of, which is probably not even true at all, part of me wants to think that they like outsource the shell production, and then they get the shells, and then they add their hardware and logo and all that kind of stuff. So basically what I'm trying to say is that these companies have, the molds and the presses to make these bigger drums, but at the same time they have the smaller molds to make, smaller shells for like fusion sizes for other companies. So basically they can make smaller drums for other companies at the same time that they make bigger drums for cheaper companies, if that makes any sense. Now, I have no idea if that's true. That's the only thing I can think about. And honestly, if, lower end companies offered smaller shell sizes, I honestly think more people would buy them, and I think more people would keep that kit longer. And again, I have no definitive answer. It's just what I think goes on. But if you know the truth, I'm curious to know, just like I'm sure Asian Beetle wants to know. So if you know, let me know in the comments because I'm curious to know. Do you have a Ghetto replacement for cymbal felts? Yeah, I actually do. It's a little bit tight, but we can get it on. Good to go. Would it be smart to sell my full drum set and try to save for a better version? I mean, if you're going to stick with drums, I definitely would, recommend it. But you don't need a fancy high-end drum set to play drums. For example, my $20 drum set, I love playing on it just as much as I love playing on my Star Classic. So yeah, it definitely feels nice to have a high-end drum set. So if I was you, I would save up enough money to buy a new kit. And then right before you buy the new kit, I would sell your old kit and then buy the new kit. So that way you're not, going into debt or anything. And that way you also have a drum set to play on while you're saving for your new kit. I'm considering buying some acoustic drums. Which brand and why? Also cymbals. Love your vids, man. Keep them coming. Thanks. So when it comes to buying drums, it basically comes down to preference. So since you asked me, I would say buy a Tama Star Classic, buy a Meinl Byzance 20-inch ride, buy an 18-inch Sabian HHX Evolution Crash, and then don't buy a custom Master Sound hi-hats because I don't like them. I'll probably get something a little bit thinner, so maybe some new beats. So that's my answer, and I guarantee if you asked anyone else, they would say something different. But since you asked me, that is my answer. But just because I say that doesn't mean you should buy that. Go out, see what you like, and buy that. What Meinl cymbals do you recommend, like hats, rides, crashes, etc.? So I don't have a lot of experience with Meinl. The only Meinl cymbal I have is this one, Meinl Byzance 20-inch Dark Ride. So I really like this ride. It's a little too thick for my liking because I like to crash on my ride. But this is definitely a nice cymbal. I also hear a lot of good things about the 20-inch extra thin hammered crash, I think it's called. I know a lot of drummers use it, and I would definitely get one if I had the money. Then also I hear a lot of good things about the 17-inch Byzance Dark Crash. So basically it's the same series as this ride, but it's the crash cymbal. And I hear a lot of good things about that. And again, I would love to own that cymbal. And then also the Sand series. I would actually probably get some Sand hats before I got new beats. And then also the new Dual series, I think. It's the one where it's like raw and then it's lathed. So I hear good things about those also. But again, it's all up to preference. So let's go to a store, test them out, and see what you like. How do you make a 14-inch snare sound like a piccolo snare? I don't know, let's crank the hell out of it, I guess. Alright, so the main camera died, so sorry if the audio sounds kind of whack. But if you're into this sort of Q&A style video, I have a full playlist of Q&As, or you can just click here and here to watch the next episodes. Also, if you have a question you want me to answer, throw it down below. Like I said in the beginning of the video, I'm doing a this or that Q&A, and then also I'm going to do like a personal Q&A soon about me, my channel, and then my videos. So if you have a question about that or this or that question, throw it down below. Also, one other thing, I'm at 4,500 subscribers right now. So when I hit 5,000, I'm going to do like a room tour because a few people have asked about that. So be on the lookout for that. Thank you for watching. I will see you in the next video.